Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So the Trump train trial has ended. The ghost candidate trial in Florida now has just begun. So if you're new here, if you haven't heard about this case, here's a synopsis. I'm going to bring you up to speed, and then I'll give you details of the testimony so far. So a former Republican state senator for Florida, his name is Frank Artiles. He is accused of paying a man named Alex Rodriguez, not that Alex Rodriguez, another one, to run in the 2020 state election. Rodriguez, though, wasn't running to try to win. He was on the ballot for the sole purpose of siphoning votes away from the incumbent Democrat in the race, whose name is Jose Rodriguez. So this other Rodriguez, Alex Rodriguez, was pretending to be a progressive candidate. And obviously, given that they had the same last name, that it would serve to confuse voters. So the term ghost candidate, it doesn't refer to a fictitious person. It's a fake candidate who isn't interested in winning. They're running just for the sole purpose of preventing someone else from winning. So they're acting as a spoiler candidate. So they don't campaign, they don't fundraise, they don't do interviews. This is what happened in numerous races throughout Florida in the 2020 election. And it's been happening in other states as well across the country. So here's the thing, it's completely legal. Where Artiles got himself into trouble is that he secretly paid Rodriguez to run. So that ran afoul of campaign finance laws. And Rodriguez lied on his candidacy forms about where he lived. He wasn't even living in the district where he was running for office. And once this story started to come out, investigators found that Artiles was tied to various Republican dark money groups, as well as a bunch of different political operatives. So there's also a connection, believe it or not, this is going to sound weird for people who haven't heard of this story yet, but there's a connection in all of this to the largest utility company in the state. It's Florida Power and Light. So FPL, Florida Power and Light, is desperate to try to prevent Democrats from winning because obviously they're pushing for clean energy options, and that's going to cut into these obscene profits that FPL brings in. And the incumbent Democrat in the race, Jose Rodriguez, he was a huge proponent of rooftop solar energy. So what came out over the course of this investigation is that there were internal FPL emails. They got leaked to the public, and they showed that the company's then CEO, he ordered his people to target Rodriguez, to target Jose Rodriguez, the Democrat. He literally ordered them in an email to, quote, make his life a living hell. That's how much they want to hold on to their profits. So that CEO has now stepped down. He stepped down about a year or so ago from the company. Unfortunately, though, doesn't appear that that company is going to suffer any consequences for their involvement. Now, they took a hit with their stock, and they've taken some, bad publicity, but overall, they're good. Nothing's going to happen to them. So Artiles, though, he is accused, like I said, of paying Rodriguez almost $45,000 to pretend to be progressive. He changed his party affiliation right before he submitted his candidacy form. So he changed from a Republican to a no party preference candidate, and it worked. That's the worst part of this story, is that Alex Rodriguez siphoned 6,000 votes away from the Democrat, and the Republican in the race, a woman named Ileana Garcia, she ended up winning by only 34 votes. So she doesn't deserve that seat, and she's not giving it up. She doesn't care. There's nothing has tied her to this scam, unfortunately. So she's there, and she's not going anywhere, even though she didn't deserve it. So Rodriguez and Artiles were charged in March of 2021. They were charged with conspiracy to make or accept campaign contributions in excess of legal limits, accepting and making excess campaign contributions, false swearing in connection to an election, and submitting false voter information. So Rodriguez ended up taking a plea deal. He agreed to testify against Artiles, and so that brings us to the ongoing trial. The prosecutor last week first called Republican operative, a guy named Patrick Bainter, to the stand. Bainter runs a Republican consulting firm called Data Targeting, and he admitted to the jury that, yeah, he hired Artiles, he paid him $15,000 a month to help with this, with the election, with the 2020 elections, and to dig up dirt about the Democrat, about Javier Rodriguez. Bainter also said he sent $100,000 to a political action committee for the same purpose. And he said that he was working on behalf of the Florida Senatorial Campaign Committee in Tallahassee, Florida. And he said, quote, "I was looking for somebody that had experience in political intel and, you know, finger on the pulse, so to speak, in local communities down here." Now, Bainter claims when he hired Artiles, he didn't tell him, go out and get a ghost candidate, go out and find someone to run a fake candidacy. He says he had no idea what this guy was going to do, what Artiles was going to do, how he was going to do it. He didn't get into any details with him about how he would do his job. He just hired him. I don't know if I believe that because, I mean, that's a lot of money, right? You wouldn't want to know exactly what you're paying for. But unfortunately, like with Ileana Garcia, there's no evidence. So next on the stand was a lobbyist, a woman named Stephanie Smith. Now, Smith, she testified that on election night in 2020, she was at a bar. There was a celebration going on for another Republican whose race also included a fake candidate. Smith told the jury that when they were all watching the TV that night, watching the results come in, the results flashed on the TV for the race between Jose Rodriguez, Ileana Garcia, and Alex Rodriguez. And she overheard Artiles say, quote, "That's me, that's all me." So this story broke in the Miami Herald. And Smith was mentioned. She was actually quoted, even though she says she didn't give that quote to the Miami Herald. So I don't know how they got it. But they said, she overheard him making these statements. So she gets what she described as an angry phone call from Artiles. And then Artiles tried to get her to retract her statement. So after the angry phone call, he tried to pressure her into signing an affidavit saying that she didn't hear him make those comments at the bar. And Smith told the jury, quote, "I felt I was being pressured. I didn't sign it. I didn't want to, at that point, be pulled into whatever was going on. And I heard what he said." There were other witnesses who testified over the course of last week, mostly about minor details to try to establish the paper and the money trail in this case. And then on Friday, their primary witness, Alex Rodriguez, took the stand. So Rodriguez admitted to the scheme, and he told the jury, quote, "I'm ashamed. I needed the money." So Rodriguez explained, he was strapped for cash. He had gone through a divorce. He needed the money. And then Artiles, he said, promised him $50,000. So, like I said, he changed his party affiliation from Republican to no party preference. And then Artiles helped him to sign up as a candidate. And Rodriguez went on to say that Artiles and another man, a guy named Jose Riesco, they opened a campaign account for Rodriguez. And Artiles gave Rodriguez $2,000 up front. He put that money in the account. He gave it to Rodriguez, then Rodriguez deposited it as if it was his own money. And then he used that money to pay for his campaign filing. In addition, Rodriguez said Artiles would give him $3,000 to $4,000 cash. He did that on numerous occasions. He said he would go to Artiles' home, and Artiles, for some reason, had a bunch of cash in a safe at his house, and that's where he would give him that money from. And then he made Rodriguez $2,400 a month rent payment for him. Also, Artiles once paid $7,000 to a private school where Rodriguez's daughter was attending. Rodriguez also admitted to tricking Artiles into giving him another $10,900 because apparently he was saying, it's kind of tough to get the money from this guy. And so he said, he had to kind of trick him into giving him this cash. So what Rodriguez did was he lied. He told Artiles, oh, I can get a truck for your daughter. I guess he was looking for a car for his daughter. So Artiles gives Rodriguez the nearly $11,000, and then he never got the truck. But, what is he going to do? Sue the guy? So, then all that would have come out, which it did anyway, so he should have. But anyway, Rodriguez was the last one to testify on Friday, and then he was back on the stand today. So as soon as I hear more, I will definitely let you all know. I should mention also, in exchange for Rodriguez's testimony against Artiles, he was sentenced to only 6 months of house arrest and then 3 years of probation. Artiles, on the other hand, if he's convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison. So we'll see. I will let you know. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you possibly can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.